So, welcome to the Founders Speak Unplugged podcast, Thomas. You are a celebrity globally in the startup world. So, we could not be more privileged to have you join us in this podcast. Thank you
very much for inviting, and thank you very much for the kind words.
And you also have allowed us to host this new format at the Nordic FinTech Week. So, this is a first for us globally. So, thank you for that as well.
Amazing.
Yeah. Thank you. Now, you're an entrepreneur too yourself. And while you help entrepreneurs around the world, this one is about you, the entrepreneur, and your journey. And before we get into what are things that you've learned as an entrepreneur that have worked really well or that have challenged you really hard, give us 30 seconds about yourself and your business so that our audiences, entrepreneurs, really know who you are.
Yeah. So, as you said, my name is Thomas. I am the CEO of Copenhagen FinTech, which is an organization of many things. It's an accelerator. So people would know it as a commercial accelerator where we help companies accelerate their startup journey and their growth. We're an incubator, so we incubate, also help people with good ideas to form a company. We fund research, so we are able to actually also help fund research and help them commercialize whatever research is going on in the universities. And then we host the Nordics' biggest combined finance and fintech conference where we are sitting right now at the Nordic FinTech Week. So we do a lot of different things.
Amazing. Tell us a fun fact about yourself, which not many people know.
So fun fact, I do ultra running. So
ultra running.
Ultra running in the Swiss mountains. So once a year, it's been some years. Funnily enough, while I have in Copenhagen FinTech, I haven't done that much of the ultra stuff. But before we did ultra running in the Swiss mountains and 110 Ks that I never managed to finish. Always gave up after like 70 or 80 Ks. But we did that in the Swiss mountains, and that's one of the most amazing experience. And also talking about both struggling and having an amazing experience while you're struggling. It's a good experience.
Yeah, it's like what entrepreneurs do, right? I mean, you try. Yeah, that's amazing. Let's get into the meat of this conversation.
Yeah.
In your own entrepreneurial journey, and let's call this the first section of two. I'm sure, I've been an entrepreneur myself now for 10 years, and I know the battle scars I have on my back. But it's something which only I know. Sometimes I like to call it unavailable wisdom because it's not there on the internet. It's here. I want to go inside your mind and get you to share maybe a couple of real unexpected downturns or challenges that you have experienced in your journey. And how did you manage to solve them? How did you manage to overcome them? Any two instances that you believe can potentially be useful for other entrepreneurs to listen to.
So maybe this is a little bit a different take on it. So allow me just to go down that route.
Sure.
And then interrupt me if it derails too much. So I come from a long background in financial services, right? And when the way I got into the industry is actually when I was in my late 20s. I got into the insurance business, and I started out as an insurance agent. And that is basically a traveling salesman.
Yeah.
There's nothing sexy about it. There's at that point there was you get a telephone, you got a PC, a station, a big PC on your desk, a telephone, and then I was told by my boss, go fetch. And I was 26, 27. I just got my first kid at that point. I got my first car, my red Toyota, and that was very much an entry into entrepreneurial space. Even though I was employed,
yes,
when I started out each month, I had around zero, and then I needed to do some
the meter resets to zero every month.
Exactly. So I think that was it was one of the hardest experience professionally I've ever had, because it was starting over almost every day.
Yes.
And it was a lot of no's, but it also it taught me about resilience. And I think it taught me a lot about how important the commercial side of things are. And some of those learnings I carry in with the conversations with the startups, because and we just had a panel where we also discussed that a little bit, what we see in the Nordics, and one of the major challenges in the Nordic FinTech ecosystem is actually the commercial traction. Many startups have great ideas. They like super talented people,
Yes.
very intelligent, great ideas. But somehow when it comes to the commercial side of it, and there are many reasons, and that's not what we're talking about here, but for some reasons, like the commercial side is a challenge. And I think those years as a traveling salesman in financial services, that taught me about how important and some basic tools around selling, relationship building, and that kind of stuff. But it also taught me that you might have 50 no's. At the end, there's gonna be a yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree.
And then you get 50 no's more.
Yeah.
And then there's gonna be a yes.
Yes.
So it is a little bit like a numbers game, and it's like raising money. It's like chasing customers. You'll get a lot of no's, but eventually there's gonna be a yes.
Amazing. Yeah, totally agree.
I know this is very simple, but that's sometimes what we tend to forget, because after 5 no's, we stop and we think we need to change something. And it's not always something you need to change. You just need to push through and keep on going, because there is a yes out there.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of how many you talk to, or your own willingness to go from no to no to no to get to that yes.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I've been a salesman myself, and I also learned the same thing, that you've not earned your right to hear your first yes until you've heard your first 9 no's.
Yeah.
So how quickly can you get through the no's is what will define how quickly you get to the yes.
And it builds a robustness, right? So I think there's a lot of focus on the negative side of getting the no's, but it builds up your character, it builds up your robustness, and it teaches you that. And also, you can be lucky and have a strike of 5 yes, but you also know there's gonna be the no. The no's are coming up, right? So
absolutely.
So there's ups and downs, and after an up, there's always a down. When you're in a down, there's an up at some point.
Yes.
It is out there.
Completely agree. Give us another such nugget of wisdom.
I don't know if it's...
it really is. And, what was another such learning that you've had, as an entrepreneur, and how have you solved for it? A challenge, a difficulty.
So I think one thing that helped me enormously at some point in my career, I became a manager very early on, and have managed people for the majority of my working years. And I think at some point I started being curious about the Buddhism, and started meditating and studying that kind of philosophy around that. And I think one thing that taught me, and now it maybe gets a little bit philosophical, but I think one of the things you do when you meditate, you separate, you learn to separate things, right? Because you have all these feelings inside you. When you get no's, that creates an emotion, and it creates a feeling, don't they like me? Am I not good enough? All those kind of things. And I think the meditation part taught me to separate the stuff. What are the objective things? Okay, so I got a no. Why did I get that no? Is it about me? Is it actually more about the client or like surroundings? Was it something I could influence? Was it something I couldn't? And then kind of look at it more objectively, more factual, and focus on the facts, and learn to separate all the emotions that is about, again, do they like me? Am I good enough? What could I have done different? And I'm not saying that shouldn't be part of your thought process. I'm just thinking sometimes it makes it very hard to extract the learnings if you cannot separate emotions from the facts.
It's a very difficult thing to do.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things you go through when you meditate. That is actually to sit down and take it in, and also learning to let it go again. and what remains is the core of whatever problem or opportunity there is. So it's taking it, meditate on it, and then learning to let it go again.
Amazing, amazing, fantastic. Let's talk about a time when you weren't expecting things to go so right and so good and so amazing that you were surprised with where you were, and you were way more happier than you had expected to be. And what was one such moment, and did it leave a lesson for you there about good times and success?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I think so. Let me split it up into. I think, obviously being here, working within innovation and working with the startups and that space, I spent a lot of years in the established industry, and I think I was always considered the one that was a little bit different and opposed to the system, right? So that created a lot of friction, and I never really figured out until quite some years into my career. Why is it? Because, I think I quite naturally have a tendency to wanting to change things, and that is hard if you constantly push that agenda within an established financial institution. That creates a lot of friction.
Yeah. Yes.
And I think that's not always, it's not healthy for the people around you. It's not healthy for yourself. And I think I probably learned way too late that that passion and energy could be channeled into outside of an established financial institution much better than inside. So I think, so it was just to give a little bit of background. And I think coming on the other side and being in a place a little bit like when I was starting up as an insurance salesman, Copenhagen FinTech, it was basically, I was employee number one, and my good friend and colleague Simon jumped over, and then we were two. And looking back on where we are now, that was it's an entrepreneurial journey, right? And I had no idea what I signed up for. So basically, I didn't know what I applied for, but it sounded fun. And I needed something fun to do. And looking back now, 7-8 years later, and seeing the team grow to where we are now with a little more than 20 people, some amazingly talented, competent people that have chosen to join us on that journey. Like we have some amazing people that have built Copenhagen FinTech to what it is now. With a global network of people, we're sitting. We wouldn't have met if Copenhagen FinTech hadn't happened, and I hadn't taken that chance at that point. And now I'm sitting here with all these amazing relations, but that has only happened because of amazing people that every day choose to donate their time, their passion, their energy and resources into helping first building the Danish ecosystem, now the Nordic ecosystem, and hopefully also have a global impact. And I think that I never imagined that, which I think is good because it's, it happens along the way and it evolves, but where we are now, I didn't see 8 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. We've got thousands of people here over the last 2 days from around the Nordics, from Europe, from Asia. It's incredible that in a matter of 6, 7, 8 years, this thing has grown into something that people put on their calendars now to say, okay, it's happening in September last week. I have to make sure I'm going to be there. So,
and I think I think what is like, it's sometimes it is humbling to think about that. We have the Nordic FinTech Week, and now we're talking about how can we scale that and how can we make it bigger and better, and then itself is a business in itself. You have Copenhagen FinTech. We help facilitate the setup of a venture fund to help entrepreneurs. And there's so much more to do also. So the ambition, of course, is to do more. Yeah. But we've already come a long way. And again, I cannot say enough that there's so many amazing people both along the way and currently that has helped build that ecosystem and that community of people And that has accelerated way beyond what we could have imagined from the beginning.
Absolutely. And congratulations on that. We're moving into our last section, the absolute fun section, scary section. So we have 4 stacks of cards here, which have different types of questions in them. You are required to just touch your finger and tell me which one I should pick first. And then I'm going to ask you a question from one of those cards.
I'm feeling thirsty, so I'll take this or that.
So this or that is actually trivia questions. So this is going to test your general knowledge.
Okay. Wow.
Okay.
Oh,
no. Okay, there you go.
This one.
Okay. So I'm going to see what this is. Where are my eyes? Okay.
Is it in FinTech or is it outside of FinTech?
It could be anywhere.
Okay.
So it's tougher. But this one, I think you should be able to get. Which startups founders started in a garage, and there are many, but went to an IPO in less than their first 5 years? This is a technology company, of course. This is a big storage company. What would it be?
A big storage company.
Yeah, this is storage is basically data, software. Yeah. Okay.
Was it HP? No, it's not.
No. It starts with the letter D. Let me give you.
Dell?
No. It's a new age company.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm terribly bad at these.
So the answer is Dropbox.
Dropbox. Okay.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
So let's leave that there.
I failed that test.
Yeah, many do. Okay, which is the next set of cards you want to pick?
The Shark Tank.
Shark Tank. Okay. I think this should be easier for you to do. There you go. This one. Okay. Okay.
And then you laugh.
What would you do if your biggest competitor started copying your every move?
Be very flattered.
All right. I love that answer. I absolutely love that answer. Okay. There you go.
Was that short?
Short, and I take that answer. Right. It's great. Okay. Which of these two?
The what if question.
What if? There you go. Oh, ignore this.
This one.
Okay. Oh, you like this one. What if you had to permanently relocate your startup to another country? Yeah. Where would you go?
Japan.
Why?
I've been visiting Japan quite a lot in the context of Copenhagen FinTech. I find the country extremely fascinating because it's so different from, of course, obviously here in the Nordics. I love the culture. I love the people, and I think they are. I think when it comes to innovation, my passion, obviously, innovation and scaling ideas and teaching also corporate on the corporate innovation side. I think there's some interesting synergies between the Nordics and Japan, and there's an interesting opportunity in the difference between Japan being very hierarchical, very like you learn from your manager, the eldest in the room. There's all these. It's very traditional in that sense, and I think that doesn't go necessarily very well with when you talk about innovation and what stimulates innovation. It's quite the opposite, right? And I think if you look at the Nordics, it's very flat structures. Everyone can have a good idea and speak their mind, and some of that infused in Japan with the Japanese ingenuity and engineering skills and the ability to then scale and go global. I think that's a massive opportunity that I would love to test.
Interesting. And of course, it's less rainy, less grey, less gloomy.
More in some ways
seasons,
more beautiful. Seasons. I love going during the sakura and it's in general. I find Japan fascinating. So
amazing. I would do the same. Okay. So
we can go together.
Yeah, Thomas, thank you very much for being on the podcast.
Thank you so much for inviting
And we are going to see you at the Singapore FinTech Festival.
Definitely.
Big delegation.
Big delegation from the Nordics.
Awesome. Looking forward to that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.